Okay, I think that's ready.
Okay.
And I'm going to switch to your.
Oh, are you sharing my screen on the live stream?
Okay, everyone. Sorry about the little glitch. We had to move to this new stream. I accidentally deleted that out of this, stopped that other streaming, and it can't let me revive it. Okay, so Fernando, it's over to you to get started.
All right. Um, so let me see. Do you know how many people are live to ask what's their background, whether they are a GIS expert or someone coming from the development side?
We haven't got any messages yet, but
Okay.
maybe people will move over.
Well, um, in any case, my name is Fernando, and I've been working with Geobase for some time now, and we are excited to show you one of the cool things you can build with Geobase. Um, on this live stream, specifically, we want to show you how easy it is to make a collaborative map application um, using one of our existing templates, which we're calling blueprints. You might have seen these somewhere on YouTube, or maybe you already checked the documentation. So we have this tool uh, that allows users to create new maps and add annotations to it. So if I make, um, we had a pre-set up
You're not
demo
sharing
here.
your
So,
screen, man.
oh, I'll share my screen. Okay, so let me know if it's good.
Yeah, I can see that.
Nice, nice. So, yeah, we have this virtual app that we set up yesterday for the live stream. Live stream demo test virtual. And where is it? Virtual. Let's just go to virtual real quick. Okay. And so as you saw on the screenshots, this is a very simple app. You can create a new map and you can just annotate a few things. Uh, the one that you currently have access to here in the docs um, only allows you to share maps without seeing the cursors or any of these other things that you might see on this live version. So when I say a collaborative map, what I mean is uh, think Google Docs but for maps, right? So you might open a new document and you see the user's cursor moving around, other people's cursors making changes on that. And you usually see on the top right, somewhere along here, um, a little icon with an animal, and it says something like anonymous penguin, right? So that's essentially what this blueprint allows you to do, but for maps. Now, as I said, currently on this version of this template, we don't have the live cursors. And so that's what we're going to show you how to add on this live stream. It's very simple. It's going to take about 30 minutes, and we think that you're really going to like what you can do with this. So the first step to get started here is to jump on the docs and click here on the left under blueprints so that you can get a link to the repository. Now in here, you'll see you have everything available here. There's a full tutorial on how to set it up, how to configure the Geobase instance. Now, if you haven't checked out the Geobase studio itself, if you haven't signed up, let me give you a quick tour. So you might have known Supabase, or you might have used it, maybe not. It's essentially a dashboard for managing the databases for applications. And as you see, we have an instance already set up. And here's where you would see your Postgres tables and other settings there. So for to be able to run this project, you'll need to have an instance set up. And if you follow this guide, you'll be able to essentially create your application. Now, I'm going to create a new repository with this, and I'm going to make the fourth version of this. I'm going to make it private. You just click on create repository. It's going to take a minute to make your repository, and then you can just clone it. Now, I'm not going to clone this specific one. I have one prepared with some changes almost ready to be added there. And so I'm going to jump on the left here, and I'm going to cd into that directory, which is this folder. Now, this project here has the same structure that you'll find if you pull the code from here. So we have a clean slate. And here on the left, I have my little Git tool here, where we'll be adding these changes to implement those three features. So on this live coding session, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add those live cursors that I mentioned. So if I show you real quick on the deployed version.
Sorry, Fernando. For like a couple of minutes, the screen went blank, and I think that was because I was switching something on the live stream channel. So
okay.
I think maybe just go over like the last 2 minutes that what you were talking about.
Yeah, no problem. So let's see, where do we go back in time? Yeah, so if you go to the docs here on the Shareable Maps app blueprint, you'll see that there's full instructions on how to set up this project. You'll need a Geobase instance. In this case, we already have one Geobase instance set up here. It's very easy to set up. Just need to sign up, and then once you sign up, you create a new project. It's going to ask you to make a new organization, and you select the size of your instance, and that's it. So in this case, we already have one. It's a fresh one. Oops, not this one. This one. It's a fresh one. There's no tables. And I was about to explain what we were going to do. So, the three parts of what we're going to build in this live session. And I was saying that the first part is going to be the live cursors. So let me show you what I mean by live cursors. So on the left here, I have this side. And if I paste this here, well, currently, this map is not public. So I need to make it public. And I'm going to make it look like this. And I'll copy the link again. And then I'll just click enter. And you see on the left, we have this cursor there. If I move it here, you'll see that there's my other cursor. Then here I can set to follow myself. So showing these cursors and having this follow ability, where the camera on the right, this window, is following the one on the left. And then showing this menu, that's the first thing we're going to do in this live stream. The second thing that we're going to do is, maybe you already saw, we have this toggle here where you can make it publicly editable so that guests can also have the ability to add drawings and other annotations. And the third part, I'm going to leave that as a surprise, but it's going to be a more GIS thing that we do with this template. So now I'm going to close this window here, and I'm going to close this, change to this other window here. And the first thing that I'm going to do with my brand new template here is I'm going to install my dependencies. So I'm going to do pnpm install. And then once I have installed my dependencies, maybe if you're not from a web development background, maybe you come from a data analysis background. I think it's called pip for Python to install dependencies. So we essentially did something like that. And so once we have installed our dependencies, the next step is to add our environment variables. So for that, we're going to open this sample environment file here, and we're going to look for our connection details. So we're going to copy this, and we are going to replace it here. This is the URL for our server instance that we're going to be using. And then here we'll copy the anonymous key to be able to connect to that instance. Now, this doesn't give you like full access permission. You would need the full key for it. This is just to be able to connect to the server. So now I'm gonna go to the SQL editor part because the next step is to run the migrations. So we're gonna be running some SQL here, and it may seem like a lot of code, but this essentially is just gonna create the Postgres tables that we need for this project. We have just a few tables, so I'm gonna copy this code. There's a command line utility that Geobase has that allows you to just push this migration here. But in order to save some time, I'm just going to paste it directly into our instance here. And then I'm just going to click run. And voila. You'll see that it says that it has created new tile server tables. And those are going to be available here. But if I go to the table inspector, you'll see that we have 6 new tables. Now there's one for profiles for the users, which only stores the nickname and the photo and an ID. And then we have a table for each of the layers, let's say, right? For the annotations, which are the text labels that you can add, annotation. Then we also have the attachments, which is something that we are not going to show in this demo. We have the drawings, which is the ones that you saw, and then the pins, which is something like this. Now, all of those tables are empty, but they are ready to use. Now, the next step is going to be to, here to run our project locally. So we're going to say pnpm dev. And that's going to start our local server here. And if I open it up, it's going to take a moment to load. And then you'll see that we have a locally running application here. I am not signed in. And if I try to sign in, it's going in. And if I create an account, then it should just allow me to oops. Passwords did not match, of course not. Okay. And now that sent me a new email, and I'm just going to confirm this. Now it's showing an error here because I'm on my local host. And this email template is something that, by the way, you can customize from the Studio interface. And now if I go to the table and if I go to profiles, you'll see that I have a new user there. So now let me go back. Well, but one thing that I'd like to mention before I jump back in is if we open here the tile server inspector, you'll see that we have 4 tables that allow you to inspect the tables that have geometry types. Now, this is the magic behind part of the magic behind Geobase because it allows you to generate tile layers on the fly for your maps. So here, you might see my cat here wanting to participate in the live stream. um, Cats love computers, man. So now if I go here and sign in, you'll see that now I have my account there. And if I create a new map, now I'm going to be able to start drawing and add some pins and stuff. And if we go back here, you'll see that we have a new drawing there that I added and a few pins. And each of these rows, then it's taken by the tile server and it generates the tile server, the tile endpoint, sorry. And this is how we're rendering the things on the screen. We're not looping through each item and then like doing all the work on the front end on the map client. This is being delivered via the tile server. So okay, having said that, now let's jump into the actual live cursor implementation. So here, if we look at the changes, you'll see that we have 4 files that we changed. On the utilities file, we added a few functions that allow us to generate the guest names. So, as I said before on the example with in Google Docs, you usually see an animal with a color, right? And so we're doing the same here. And so we created a bunch of adjectives here and animal names and colors for them. And so they just creates a random string like red happy fox. And we're using that as a guest username. Now, the other changes, the important changes here, are mainly found on the map controller file. Now, in this file, we added a few data types that we're going to be needing. One is to keep track of the user movement, so the cursor of the mouse on the screen, the username of that guest, and the bounds of their screen. The bounds are going to be necessary for the following part. I mean, not for that next part, but like that actual following of the user on the map. Then we have other types to keep track of the present state, and a player's record that makes a dictionary of all of the players with their positions and their username and their bounds. This is so that we render people's cursors on our map. Then below that, if I expand this, we have a map controller context, which is where we keep the state of the map. So this map controller file, if I open it here, map controller. Oh, I closed this. So this map controller file is essentially the core piece of this project. This is the React code that uses the map client library and ties everything together. It ties the state of what the user is doing, the tool state for whether you're erasing something or if you're adding something, the components that you'll see on top. This is the manager that distributes all of the data to the application. So on this component, we're adding a new state. We're adding a following string to keep track of who we're following, a function that allows us to set that, and the player's record. And then there's more local state for the component, like the color we have and the multiple channel ref. Now this is where the magic happens when it comes to the live sharing of the cursor movement. We connect to Geobase on a channel that receives events and that we set up right below. So here we are essentially saying that whenever we receive a broadcast event named mouse move, which is triggered whenever a user moves the mouse, we're going to be setting the cursor markers on the state that we have. And that's going to allow us to render those cursors in the map. Then we have a few other states there. We have the sync state, we have the join, the leave, and as those describe themselves, they just allow us to know who's in and who's out on the map that we're looking at. And then below we have the mouse functions that essentially take the coordinates from the mouse movement event from the map and then send it to the server right here. And so every person who joins is going to have this event set up on their client. And the rest of the state is for the following part. So here, when we set to follow someone, it creates a loop, an interval loop, so that every 100 milliseconds, the map is going to fit the bounds to the player's bounds, so that you're looking at the same thing. Now if I go down here, we're attaching the events that we created. And now here, this is where we render the cursors. So we're creating a new marker on the map, and this marker is going to be moving. And here we do some, we split the generated username, so like red happy panda, so that it's we know that the color and then the name is only red, happy panda. So the display name is going to be shown there. We have a cursor icon here using an SVG, and we're setting the color to be the color that was attached to that username. And that's it. I know that I went very quickly over it. We're trying to keep this demo short. But now if I cherry pick this commit, which essentially is going to just apply those changes. If I refresh here, get random color is not defined. Oh, yeah. So it's complaining, get random color. Looks like we are not importing this function here from our utils. We're just gonna be importing that. And then we might also need the other functions that we have. So is defined color and guest name. So is defined color and then guest name. And what was it? Generate guest name. And we're also not exporting this, so we're probably gonna have to change that as well. And then now we have those changes. And now if I set this to the right, and if I make a new incognito window again, and move this to the right, if I copy this link here, well, first it's going to say that it's a 404 because I have not shared my map yet. So I'm going to make this private, public. And then if I go back, now we're able to see it. And voila, there you have it, cursors. Now I can also set this to follow myself here. And that's it. It says when someone joins the map and when someone's leave the map, it also updates the state. So if I go back here, it says blue clever fox left the map. And then again. And then now it's someone else. And you generated username. Now, that was very easy. Now the next step we want to do is, it's cool that we can see the cursors and you can see what the cursor is doing real time. But it's not as fun or useful if it's just a follow mode, right? Like this person cannot do anything on this map. So we want to collaborate. So to enable that, we need to make some changes to the tables that we have already created and some changes on the UI as well. So let me go over real quick over the changes that we need to do to the database to enable this function. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go to our instance here, and I'm going to paste this here. And so let me go over it real quick. So essentially what this code is doing, what this SQL is doing is it's adding a new column to our existing projects table. And this column is called publicly editable. Now, if I go here, you'll see that we have this publish column. So we're essentially adding another one to know if this map is editable or not. Then we're creating an index for it. We are setting the row level security policies. So essentially, we're saying that this. We're essentially saying that anyone, either the owners or when a map project is set to publicly editable, then it's gonna give write access. If none of those are met, then it's not gonna give you any access. Um, that's basically what it's doing. It's just saying like, hey, are you the owner? Yes, no, okay. If you are, then you have access. If you're not, then if it's publicly editable, then you have access, but otherwise you don't have access. So I'm gonna run this now, and there you go. And now if I go here, you'll see on the last section here, we have our new column there. Now, of course, this was just a database change, so on the front end, nothing happens. And then if I go here, you'll see what we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is we need to update the project provider file. Now, this file is essentially keeping track of which columns are available. So each of these lines here represents one of the columns. So we have to add the newly added one, which is publicly editable. Something similar happens on this file, although this one is for when we create a new project. When we show the create map dialog, we have to initialize this with false because it's a non-null value, this column. Then on the map controller, we have to update the parts of the code that create the annotations. So we only allow the user to insert annotations if they are the owner or if the map is publicly editable. This is done on the server, so even if this wasn't added, it would not allow you to push those changes. But this allows us to inform the user more efficiently that that you can do this essentially. So that's what all of these changes do here. We're just updating the way that we validate those states. And then on the map menu, so let me show you what the map menu is. If you click here and then you click here, this here is a map menu. So when you click and share link, it shows this pop-up. And we have to change that so we have a second toggle for making this map editable. So that's what this change does. And it creates a function that whenever the toggle is flipped, it's going to update the value of that column for that particular map. And then it's also doing some logic so that essentially you cannot have a editable map that is not public. Like they go hand by hand, right? So we're on the front end, we're ensuring that you cannot just push weird state to the server. So that's what we're doing on this component here. And then on the map UI, and this is just so that we show the toolbar when the map is publicly editable. So as you see on the right here, we don't have a toolbar. So that's what that change does. And that's it. Like, yeah, it's very simple. So now I'm just gonna cherry pick this commit, click enter. Oh, it looks like I need to commit my changes. So let's do that. Go. And yeah, fine. Now we're just gonna cherry pick this commit. And we now should see these changes. And if I refresh the site on both ends, okay, that was way too zoomed in. Now let me add another pin somewhere else so that it doesn't like zoom all the way in. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now we have the cursors, and if I click here on the share link, you'll see that we can now toggle this. If I click on it, boom, on the right side, the user can now also do annotations in the map. Now, if I change it back again, now the user's not going to be able. And even if, like, as you see, like it kept the state of where I have this drawing thing, but it's not allowing me to send that. Um, oh, I made a copy by accident. So I'm going to set this to editable. And yeah, I mean, that was very easy. Like it's like I keep amazing myself like how easy it is to just build this type of tools with Geobase. Um, you can update it in real time, and then that's it. You just push your change. So the third part and the last part of this live stream, live coding session, not the live stream, is to add support for adding GeoTIFF files. Now this is very cool because I have here downloaded a few TIFFs here. Now, if you're not familiar, GeoTIFF files are essentially satellite imagery or drone imagery that you can add to your map. And what we're going to be implementing for this last part is the ability to drag and drop one of those files onto the map and then just have it there and annotate on top of that at the same time. So the first thing for that is we're going to have to update the database structure again. So we have this SQL that we need to run on the server. So I'm going to maximize this window. And I'm going to go to my SQL editor and I'm going to paste this here. Now let me go through this real quick as well. So here we're creating a new GeoMedia table, which is where we're going to keep track of the file metadata, and we're going to add indexes for it. And we're going to enable real time, and we're going to enable row level security, and give it the same treatment as the other tools here, the other layers, which basically means like, hey, you can only access this if you're the owner or if it's publicly editable, blah, blah, blah. Then the other thing we do is we create a GeoMedia bucket. Now, a bucket is essentially a storage unit on the server where you can create folders and files. Now, we're creating that bucket, and we are also setting bucket policies. So that you can only write here if you have a project, if you're authenticated, and or if it's publicly editable, right? So that's what this SQL does, and so now I'm going to run it. And if I go here, you'll see that we have a new GeoMedia table. And if I go to the buckets, you'll see that if I refresh here, we have a new GeoMedia bucket. And so the next step is to make the changes on the UI so that you can just drop the image. Now, to be able to handle this GeoTIFF, this special GeoTIFF format, which is actually a COG GeoTIFF, meaning that it's optimized for the cloud, we're going to add a new dependency to our project, which is this one right here. Now, I'm going to copy the name of this. And here, I'm going to close my local server, and I'm going to do npm, and then I didn't copy it, I think. I'm going to copy this link, and then I'll just remove this here. And that's going to add that dependency. There you go. That's been done. And now we just need to apply these changes. Now, if I quickly go over them, the first thing we're doing is we are adding this new protocol for code so that we can load these geotips dynamically as map tile, as raster tiles. And you'll see what I mean when I finish this. We're adding a type there to keep track of the metadata. We're adding the layer state that we need. And we're also adding a new real-time channel for this table. We're setting up a function where we fetch the metadata for the corresponding map project. So essentially, we're saying, hey, from this table, we're looking at this map, so let's get all the associated image files there. So we do this on the first load, and after we do that, we set up a listener on that table. We're listening to Postgres changes for this table whenever the project ID matches our project ID that we have on the client. And then we're listening to 3 events. Whenever a new file is added, and whenever one's deleted, and whenever one's updated. And we need to keep track of these events so that we update the map in real time to reflect those changes. Now we are going to add functions that will detect whenever I drop the image onto the map. And when it detects that, it's going to make sure that it's a TIFF file. And then it's going to upload it to the storage. And once it's done uploading it to the storage, it's going to insert a new row on our table that we created with the file path. And then here in the event, whenever one is inserted, we generate a signed URL that's going to last for an hour so that we can fetch that resource. And we're going to be fetching that resource from our layer here defined below, right below the other layers that we had previously defined for the drawings and everything else. And this is where we're going to be rendering all of the GeoMedia sources that we have there. Now, if I just apply these changes, cherry pick, and I click enter. Oh yeah, I'll have to, I'm just gonna cherry pick these 2 files. And then I'm just gonna commit it so that it doesn't complain. So, let's see, that's like stage, commit, and then now I'll just cherry pick, enter, and then it says that there's a conflict. Why would there be a conflict? Oh, let's just resolve it. That's it. Next conflict, no conflict. Saving stage. Okay, so we added this, and now we have applied those files. And if I go to our project here, now we should be ready. Now if I reload real quick, and I move it here, I'm going to reload on the right, have our 2 layers there. And now I'm going to drop in this Livian TIFF. Now that should be appearing somewhere here, I believe. I'm gonna set the theme to light so we see when it pops in. Let's just give it a few minutes because it's a few megabytes in size. By the way, feel free to leave any questions on the chat, and we'll go through them at the end. We're happy to help you. Okay, so it's been added. Oh, there you go. It's right here on both screens. We have this beautiful satellite imagery, and as you see, it's loading as if it were tiles, progressively getting the detail instead of loading the whole thing at the start. And then you can, of course, annotate on top of this. You know, you can I'm just gonna make it full screen now. Um, and you can annotate. You can, you know, you can simulate whatever. Now here we're only showing lines, and we're showing like simple pins. But think that you can essentially do anything that a map would allow you to do. Um, you could visualize more complex data, and not just annotate like this. But imagine being able to do that collaboratively. That this is the thing that we want to empower with this type of blueprint and with Geobase in general, which is to allow real-time changes, real-time development even, um, so that you can get your customized solutions for your team very quickly. Now, this is it for this demo. We're gonna be sharing the link for this project that's public now, and so that we can all play here. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now and go back to you, Schwab. Hello, I think you're muted. And
Hello.
there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that was very cool. Annie, are you with us? Is that
Yes,
Rosie
I'm here.
Maps? Okay,
Exactly, I'm
okay.
here.
So we're really lucky here to have Annie Bukes with us. Annie, did I pronounce your last name right? I never asked you that.
It's fine like that, don't worry.
Okay, okay. Um, so Annie is a practitioner in the she's an academic and a practitioner in the development and humanitarian sector, and she has worked. She's been on the
Don't
board of
worry.
Humanitarian OpenStreetMap. And sorry, you were saying something? No? Okay. And we're gonna just hand it over to her. Maybe just Annie, you can introduce yourself, and then having seen what we built in the course of the last half an hour, maybe from your experience, speak a little bit to how you see such technology being used in your work or in the sectors that you've had experience with. So feel free to turn on your camera if you feel comfortable.
Thanks, Shoaib. I'm gonna have to do it this way. Hi, good afternoon or good morning, everyone, wherever you are. Thanks so much, Fernando. This was really, really cool. And thanks also, Shoaib, again for inviting me. Yeah, I mean, I am really excited about Geobase, and I have looking, for example, as Shoaib said, that I um, work as a researcher, but I also work very closely still with communities doing slum mapping with Slum Dwellers International, and that's sort of my background that brought me into mapping as well. And one of the main challenges that we are seeing in slums is, first of all, the rapid development of slum and informal settlement communities in the build infrastructure, but also what are the compounding effects that climate change effects are going to have on these communities. And so increasingly, we need to be able to have a more rapid response in terms of the data visualization, but also the actioning of data for impact, but also for communities to report. And so what is really exciting about Geobase and the thing and the demonstration that Fernando has shared with us is that I see real opportunity for building the kinds of visualization and communication infrastructure on this app that communities need, but can also respond to, can also use in a sort of almost real-time response when crisis strikes, for example, like floods. So one of the things I see benefit in is, for example, when there's a disaster, like if you have your base map set up and everything, which is what the communities already do, but as I shared with Fernando earlier, the bottleneck occurs for us in our work mostly is that it's too slow sometimes, the data to go from data collection to action. So there's a long lag time between the collection of the data, the analysis, the visualization, and the sharing of data with not just the community itself, but also with decision makers. And this becomes critical in um, uh, um, times of disaster like flooding, for example, or if there's a fire in a community, to be able to understand where people are, what infrastructure is being damaged, and how to bring assistance and support to people as quickly as possible. So I think that is one of the main um, um, benefits, or how should I say, one of the main contributions I think developing applications on this on Geobase can bring to these communities. And if we just think about sort of in terms of the numbers game in this, it's estimated that there are about 1.1 to 1.3 billion people living in slums and informal settlements in the global south alone. And just looking at that, many of these settlements are extremely vulnerable to the vulnerabilities that climate change effects are bringing into, for example, increased flooding, rising sea levels. Many of these communities are on the coast. So being able to communicate data in real time, almost in real time, in a collaborative way with city governments, with humanitarian organizations, with other support organizations are becoming increasingly crucial and important for these communities. And so, yeah, that's what excites me about Geobase. And yeah, keen to see which developers will be taking this up. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what you build with it and like how many projects like yours get enabled by Geobase. And yeah, I feel optimistic.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited about it. So, yeah.
Um,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I invited my colleague. He's Richard Bokhari from Sierra Leone. He said he's on the live stream. I don't know how to. In this regard, I'm a bit of a Luddite. I don't know how to see him, but he said he's around. But one of the things, for
Sorry,
example, so
could
that
you
I.
could you sorry, could you repeat my question? Because I think my microphone on the stream was off.
Okay, so the question Shoaib asked is like, what is the potential for even skills development for newbie developers and to use Geobase and to build the kind of applications that would be useful to communities. So one of the things that we're deeply invested in is, of course, also because we have so many young people, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, who are entering the job market and don't really know what to do. But in our data collection, community data collection processes, there are a lot of young people who are, in the meantime, very well versed in how to collect data, how to even the beginning steps of analyzing data. But again, still, it's um, this how high the barrier is often for young people in the context in which we work in which to access these kinds of tools. So what we discussed before as well is that the fact that this is open source, the fact that the cost to entry is really not very high, it opens up like the entire tech stack for newbie developers to do this. And I can actually see this sort of being it's really accessible. I mean, I'm not a developer, but I could follow at least to some degree, like what was going on, and I think also where not just the skills development also for young people to be able to do this, but also the accessibility actually also for community members to participate in this and live. And so there is this ethos of sort of learning by doing together, but also building skills and capacity. And I think that this opens up also the space where I was just in a conversation yesterday, and folks were saying, how do you how do you make an argument for the economic benefit of what it is that we are doing? Because for data collection, people think that people understand that, a lot of people say data is the new gold, right? But I think it's not data that's the new gold. I really think it's the ability to analyze, share, and communicate your data effectively, efficiently, and very quickly. That is the new gold, because data is out there everywhere. I mean, it's like people are very smart, like Fernando and all of these people can go on a website, scrape some data, whatever, and create something, right? So data is out there, but I think what we're missing in the step to really bring actionable impact, and also the ability local communities to own this. This was the ethos of FSDI, is that if the community owns their data, then they are able to advocate for their own development agenda. And I think in this contemporary time, it's not about just owning the data, but it's actually owning the capacity to analyze and to leverage that data that is becoming
Yeah.
more and more important than just data collection. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is my response. Long, sorry, sure. Makes sense.
Okay, cool. I mean, there's also a Reddit thread which was happening at the same time, and there's like most of the questions there are like around, um, I wanna, what is my potential career going to look like if I get into the GIS space, and there's a lot of like yeah, just uncertainty amongst people about what the job market is going to be like and so on. And um, so yeah, I think one of the things that Fernando didn't get around to showing is that we have the docs and all these guides, and then also the Reddit, the Discord channel, which people can come and ask questions, and there's a community there as well where everybody's sort of friendly and welcoming and wanting to help. Awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's it.
Um,
Yeah, I think we can start wrapping up. Is there any parting thoughts, Fernando?
nope, not really. Just complimenting what Amy was saying. That I think, yeah, sharing the findings is the real value of the data, right? And enabling people to share those findings and those ways of understanding data is key for everything else, whether it's a business, whether it's a real world solution. So, so yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited to see people building new tools and being there uh, behind the scenes.
Yeah. I can maybe add something, Fernando, I totally agree. If I can maybe add something about the employment possibilities or the possibility to create a business. I was just looking for statistics yesterday, and the it is apparently, allegedly, some numbers out there is that the global geospatial market is forecasted to be at 681 billion US dollars in 2025. And then the economic impact of geospatial technologies on the global economy is currently estimated at 2.2 trillion to 5.2 trillion. So I don't think it's a question of geospatial developers not being able to get a job. I think the jobs are out there. I think what is the key question is, how do we skill and capacitate as many as possible? And I think that is the thing that is exciting about your app is your application, is that this is really an opportunity to skill and capacitate folks who do not have access to all those, major resources that we know is required to leverage geospatial data in impactful and workable ways. So the challenge is not that you're not going to find a job or that you can. The challenge is like get the skills and the jobs are out there, and there is like for young entrepreneurs as well. I think there's definitely money to be made. So that's my economic argument.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and I think the roadmap for us over the next course of a year, I think Fernando can speak to that. There's this thing called blueprints. Maybe you can say a little bit about how that's there to kind of um, help people bootstrap ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the whole idea behind blueprints is to focus on industries and provide templates so that developers can get started very easily. And not only to get started, but to also learn. Um, we're making a whole system of components so that you can just see which components, which features you're going to need for your project. For example, maybe you need a custom data collection app for your phone. Well, there's going to be a blueprint for that, and you can customize it with your needs, and then it connects to the same server that maybe uh, that connects to the other side of the application, which is a data analysis application. And so you can have multiple applications for different roles in your team that connect to the same database. And all of those applications, we want to provide blueprints. We want to provide templates so that you can create your own customized tools for your workflow. And it's this way you don't have to really limit yourself to be like, oh, like we need this feature, but then like implementing this feature for X type of data analysis is gonna be too hard because blah blah blah. Like we want to remove that excuse. We want to say, oh, just go to our blueprints library and like go into this template that's for like agriculture or crop inspection, and then you can just download these components and integrate them to your project, which is made with the same technology. And so we want to also make this a community thing, right? So I think that's a real way of growing something like this. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time, like to see this library grow on different templates and enabling more people to do their projects. A lot of people have good ideas. I've seen on Reddit, like if you go to the GIS channels, subreddits, um, or anywhere on the internet, there's a lot of people who want to create custom mapping tools. Um, but it's very hard to get into it. And there's just like everything is all over the place. I mean, when I was starting to learn about geospatial development, it was like, man, there are like so many coordinate types, there are so many map projections, there are so many like map libraries, there are so many things that you can like mix together and nothing makes a lot of sense. And so we want to help removing that uncertainty and just be like, no, just click here, download this blueprint and get going. Like that's it. So yeah.
Okay, well said. Thanks, Annie. And I would like to, is there anything you wanted to add, Annie? Or sorry, I'm loving this discussion. I think.
I think Annie, you're on mute.
No, I didn't want to add anything. I'm just very excited. This is like my face just reacting. This is my enthusiastic face. Sorry. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I concur with everything you say.
Because on my screen, your face was stopped moving, but like you seem
Okay.
like you were going to speak, and I'm like, oh, maybe she's speaking.
No, no, no. It's just enthusiasm.
Nice, nice. Um, so yeah, I mean, Shab, did you see any questions there, or do you think that?
There was one question. I think, I mean, I can say it out loud, and I answered it. Um, um, I mean, obviously we had that little glitch in the beginning, which, we live and learn. This is our first live stream. But there's one question from um, Mike Berzinis. I think if I'm pronouncing that right. So he mentioned like he's heard of Geobase earlier, like 10 years ago. And if you Google on the internet Geobase, you will see a link to the U.S. Air Force data set called Geobase. So the United States Air Force had a public data set called Geobase. It's still there. You can download it from different portals and things. I don't exactly know what it is. I think it's some kind of a geospatial data set. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a public data set. Doesn't sort of clash with what our branding is. So it's pretty clear what is what. But yeah, Geobase, don't confuse, like, not to be confused with that Geobase, the US Air Force dataset. Geobase.app is a brand new product we launched, which has been in development for about 3 years, and we launched about in Christmas. So yeah, that was the only question. We do have a second live stream in about 4 hours, so unfortunately Annie won't be able to join us for that. I will see if I can get the snippet of Annie's, because that was like really awesome, Annie's inputs. If I can kind of get that snippet and maybe replay it for the live stream. If I have your permission.
I see
Okay.
a thumbs up.
Um, Okay, so with that, I think I'm
Do you
really grateful
know?
for Fernando. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that if you think there are any questions from the AMA worth mentioning here on the stream.
Uh, Facility asset management. Okay, someone just told me what it is. So Bambi Terror said the
Maybe.
USAF um, Geobase is the name of their facility asset management program. Okay, maybe we can do an import of their data to do a kind of demo. It's inferior to you all. That's very kind, very kind. Uh, Coming from Bambi Terror. It's awesome. Um,
Okay.
okay, then if there are no other questions, I am really, really grateful to both Fernando and Annie for doing this. It's not easy doing a live stream, as I have learned, as I messed up my beginning of it. So um, yeah, and let's reconnect and in about 4 or 5 hours, Fernando and I. And thank you, Annie. And we'll hopefully um, uh, talk more and see how we can collaborate as well.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Chef. Thanks,
Oh,
Fernando.
and
Bye
thank you.
bye.
Have a nice day.
I want to thank Hassan as well, who's been fielding the questions and keeping me abreast of when I been making technical glitches. And also my wife, she actually told me she was also watching and came to me saying the screen isn't showing because I switched my window. So okay, with that, thank you all.
Good night. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right.
Thank you, Chef. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.